Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. I'm with Taylor Jedrzejek once again. Taylor, how you doing?
Pretty good. It's kind of weird thinking about a Saturday night game. It's been a while. They had one of those. I don't believe they had one last year. Did they? No, they did. That was the Raiders game.
Yeah.
And then the year, I don't know if they had one in 2020, but they had the most recent Saturday night game that I can remember going well was the one against the Broncos, 2018. But I don't know. This game kind of feels like it's going to be a bit of a mess. I don't know. I think both teams are going to try to run the ball a lot.
Yes. Before we get to that, this is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy for first-time depositors. Enter in the code WFNY at checkout, and Underdog will match you up to $100. Underdog is a great platform if you're tired of the DFS salary system. There are tons of game types, drafts every night, and for every sport. Don't forget to use WFNY at checkout, and they'll match you up to first $100. That is Underdog Fantasy. Yeah. Before we get to last week, let's talk about before we get to this week, let's talk about what has gone on the past couple days.
Yes.
Since the loss to the Bengals last week, we've gotten
Weird.
A lot of media has just kind of revved up the Fire Stefanski train. It's pretty crazy. There's a number of people that have. It's not just one guy. Like it started with Daryl Ryder, and now it's starting to fester. But what's your thoughts on that? We already talked about it kind of at the end of the post game, but we both think it's pretty crazy. But go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I don't understand. I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know how connected anyone is with anyone in the building anymore. So it's kind of hard to really pinpoint any of these rumors as super substantiated. I don't think it would be the right move. I mean, you've given a guy 3 years. He was part of the pitch to get the quarterback here. I don't know. It feels like it would be a more classic Browns move than it would be a smart move.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I would totally definitely agree with that. I think it's insane. Let's just go over his 3 years here so far. First year, he made the playoffs. It was probably the most, I would say, un-Browns-like season. There's pretty much no controversies besides the COVID outages and all that, but like it was pretty quiet. Then last year, you had the Baker injury, you had OBJ, and then this year you have Deshaun Watson being out 11 games. Like, I just feel like it wouldn't be fair to him. And as you said, I agree with, like, he was part of the pitch to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, obviously, besides the $230 million guaranteed,
Yeah,
he chose Stefanski's offense and scheme. Like, he really liked what he saw, and just getting rid of him after 6 games would be with Deshaun. It just doesn't make any sense. I know people are frustrated. I don't think this is really coming out of anything besides the frustration of fans and kind of media, I guess. I don't think there's any true rumors of firing, because I think once they got Deshaun, I thought this was kind of a throwaway year, and I think the Haslams were kind of going to give him this year to figure it out, whatever the suspension was. So I just don't think it would be it would be as
It
dumb
would be a
as
very factory of sadness move.
right. It would be. I'm going to say this. It would be as dumb as them keeping Hugh Jackson for that third year. That'd be how stupid it would be, in my opinion. Like you remember after that, what was it? They won was last year, and then they took him back again, and he made it through what 5 games, 6 games, or something like that.
Something like that. Nothing. Not a
Yeah,
lot.
it was like we all knew this was happening, and like I just think it would be a huge mistake, and I don't think they're gonna make that mistake. Um, it it would shock. I would think Barry would have a very strong backing of Stefanski, and I just don't think that's in the cards. But it's Cleveland,
Yeah.
so
I
who the heck
mean,
knows?
they really need to move on from like certain aspects of the coaching
Right?
staff, but
Yeah,
I don't think that aspect is
the head guy, right?
well. I could definitely see some people's issue with him as a quote unquote head coach. Um, but I don't think they're glaring enough to the point where it's worth letting him go
Right.
because his strengths on the offensive end are still, I think they outweigh his maybe failings as an administrator of sorts.
Right.
Yes, could more have been done to maybe hold parts of his staff accountable?
Right.
Sure, um, but I don't think that it doesn't seem like the Browns are really that gung ho about firing people mid-season right now.
Yeah.
Um, I think if Jimmy Haslam was still as big of a voice as people think he probably is, uh, like the Jimmy Haslam of the Hugh Jackson era, I think is mostly gone.
Hmm.
I think he doesn't have the same kind of rash impulse
Right.
homeless guy making my draft picks for me
Right.
uh, nature anymore. I think
I think he's
he's handed
learned
a lot
to.
of those reins off to DePodesta
Hmm.
and even to a certain extent his wife,
Yeah.
who seems to be the more level-headed one of the two. So I think that combined with Stefanski's demeanor doesn't necessitate the kind of we needed to fire Joe Woods after week 4 that so many people on Twitter and in the fandom wanted. I think they're more methodical. Let's see how it plays out, and we'll deal with it over the off season kind of situation.
Right.
So it just
Yeah.
doesn't seem to really jive with Brown's Twitter the way that it's always operated.
Right.
Um,
I, I do think they'll probably force. I don't know about force, but kind of push him into making some changes on his coaching staff. I think that's the furthest they'll go.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think this is a situation where they're gonna take away play calling or
no, that's his
because
best attribute.
that's what he's here
That's
for.
his best attribute. Yeah.
Yeah, like that would be dumb.
Right.
It's just a matter of getting everyone or like having him kind of face the responsibility of realizing that
Right.
some of the guys he brought in to coach aren't necessarily the right ones.
Right. Yeah.
So
Um, yeah. I definitely agree. I think we're on the same page there. I think it's just frustration over kind of expectations. Um, Kind of the same problems. That is something he has to address. Like there's these kind of character issues with this team that have kind of popped up consistently that he really needs to address. But it's not like we're not in a dumpster fire. I know it sometimes seems like it. It's just we're not as bad. Like we're not in as bad as a situation as we were.
no,
Um,
there's still two plays away from being
right.
7-6 right now.
Right. Yeah, and it's just I know people are frustrated, and I think the media are kind of frustrated with how he talks to them.
Yeah, and I also
Quite
think that
frankly.
there's probably some frustration in the media, like the people that follow the team most often,
Yeah,
that there isn't the same kind of leaky faucet that there used to be.
yeah, and he doesn't
In
really give much during
in
press.
Berea, yeah, there's not a whole lot of sources coming to people and giving them juicy tidbits. Like
Yeah,
the fact that Tony Grossi is out there saying that he wants Jim Harbaugh to be the coach, or like, why the hell would Jim Harbaugh leave where he's at right now? And
right.
why would
He's
like
the king of
why?
Michigan right now.
Yeah, like firing Stefanski for the chance to get Jim Harbaugh would be as bad as what they did in 20 oh shit, what year was that? 2013?
Yeah,
2013 when they fired Jedrzejek after 1 year because uh, Joe Banner had convinced Haslam that they were going to be able to go hire Josh McDaniel,
oh man,
and then that
yes,
blew up in their face, and they ended up with Mike
right,
Pettin.
right, yeah. Oh god, that was the longest coaching search of all time.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I think we're on the same page. Okay, let's kind of switch gears here. Talking about this week, you kind of pointed out in the intro there. It's gonna be interesting. Interesting kind of weather conditions there. Um, it's supposed to be very windy. Supposed
yeah.
to be very very cold. Um, and
The Ravens aren't going to throw the ball anyway.
right. So this is going to be one of those quick games, I would assume. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the Ravens. So it's come out in the past couple days that Tyler Huntley is going to play. It looks like he had a concussion. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So he's clear of that and he's able to play. So Lamar is out. So it'll be Tyler Huntley. Um, if it wasn't him, they said the name and I was like, who is this again? So yeah, it's gonna be like last year. They faced Huntley, I think last year, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Well, they
the
faced
second
him for 3 quarters.
3 quarters, and that was the yeah.
He almost led them back at the end. That was, I think the Browns gave up an onside kick that day, but they didn't allow them to get into field goal range. Um, but I mean, I'm just looking at last week. The Ravens, they won the game attempting 17 passes. They had 309 yards. They forced 3 turnovers. I mean, they beat Mitch Trubisky. Yippee. Uh, but like that's probably going to be their blueprint. They ran the ball 42 times last week for 215 yards.
Right.
Are the Browns going to be able to stop that? Recent
Question of the
history would
day.
say no.
Question of the day there.
Season history would say no. History against the Ravens the last few times would say yes.
Maybe.
Well, stop in a relative sense.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like the Ravens' pass defense is necessarily on the same level as their run defense. So you might see a lot of Deshaun Jackson. Wow, that's a.
Whoa, where'd that come from?
I just melded the quarterbacks together.
Uh-huh.
You might see some more Deshaun Watson than you might be used to.
Yeah.
But again, if the weather is going to be crap, then
Right. Yeah. It's we've seen it. 2 years ago? The wind is the biggest factor in the passing game, kind of affecting it. It can really shut you down. And this is going to be the first time Deshaun has ever, well, not ever, but it's going to be as the home quarterback in Cleveland. So it's he actually did play last year it was when it was bad conditions, and he actually didn't play that well. So
yeah,
we'll see. we'll see how he adjusts. But I think it's gonna be it's gonna go back to kind of the old school run, a lot of running and run game. I think,
Yeah.
but that kind of scares me, which will kind of lead into the Browns right now. The Browns are struggling running the ball, as we talked about in the post game show. They can't block.
No, I mean,
I think the grades were all. I think they're all below average. If I remember looking at PFF yesterday, they were all pretty poor in run blocking, and that's what they're probably going to have to do to win this game because passing is going to be hard. I think it's supposed to be around 30 miles per hour wind or something like that.
it says 15 to 25.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
not hurricane, not like you cannot throw the ball, but
right.
Not
But not
easy
easy
either.
Not easy, yes. A mild Cleveland winter.
Yeah, I mean, there's no snow or rain, so
yeah.
that's I guess a positive. But
That's next weekend.
yeah,
But yeah. So the Ravens are one dimensional right now on offense. It's going to be Tyler Huntley, and then they got Dobbins back last week, who played pretty well. And so they're going to be probably running. How many times you said last week?
they ran 42 times last week.
42, yeah. So it's probably going to be a lot of that. Andrews didn't really do that much. I would assume he'll probably have a little bit better game this week. Huntley.
I just don't foresee them throwing the ball very much.
Right, yeah. But if it is going to be anybody, it's going to be him because he'll be the kind of underneath guy that they can throw to. It's defensive wise, I like. We'll get to this in our prop bets, but over under is 37.5. I think that might be the lowest of the season.
Yeah, that's pretty low. That's pretty rough.
Pretty freaking low. So I could just kind of give you the where Vegas is actually thinking. But I'm not really it's pretty much going to be determined on defense if they're not historically bad at stopping the run, which in the past couple games they played better overall, but like this is the one of the best running teams in the league. I think they were second if I'm in the league in rushing.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a huge thing. If they can't if the Browns can't stop the run, they're in trouble. They're gonna lose. That's my that'll be my thoughts there. What's your thoughts on that side of the ball before we get to the Browns offense?
Well, they don't really have a choice. They have to stop the run, or they're going to lose. I mean, I agree. Like,
right.
I don't think there's going to be, because of the weather and because it's Tyler Huntley. I don't think there's really going to be a case of this team is going to beat you by throwing the ball. Like the factors are kind of stacked against them. So
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens run 60 plays on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, whenever it is. If 45 of those are runs or 48 of those are runs, like, and half of their passes are going to be basically long handoffs. They're just going to be little screen passes or dump offs, I would imagine. I don't think they're going to have Tyler Huntley do a whole lot of downfield throwing in a game where the wind is going to be unpredictable. So it just doesn't feel like you should be using a whole lot of your game planning effort onto trying to slow down the pass this week.
Right. Yeah. That side of the ball kind of seems like seems like the easy kind of way of kind of figuring out how it's going to go,
Yeah.
at least game plan wise. Um, the other side is going to be a lot more difficult. As we said, the Browns' run game is struggling. Their pass or run blocking is bad right now. Hasn't been good since week 9. I think we were saying um, they they probably need to pass to win this game because I don't know if they can just rely heavily on the run game right now with the way this run blocking is going.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this side of the ball?
I mean, until they're able to run the ball again, it's hard to trust if they're, which is a weird thing to say. Until they're
Right,
able to run the ball again, I don't trust that they're going to be able to run the ball.
right. Yeah,
It's
this
just
isn't your normal Browns offense anymore.
no, and it's just been kind of decimated by the injuries, and it's rough.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's probably gonna have to be how well Deshaun Watson can throw the ball is probably going to be able to determine if they are successful on offense.
Yeah,
Um, they probably would like to run the ball to win this game, run it with Deshaun, run it with Nick Chubb, but they haven't been able to rely on that. I think Buccaneers game they semi did. They were pretty much saved by the defense on that one.
yeah,
Other than that, like you go back to these games, like the run game just hasn't been able to really be the backbone that we've seen earlier in the season and then especially last season. Um, so it's probably gonna be a lot of Deshaun Watson short throws. I would assume they probably don't want to test the wind going deep or anything like that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they kind of deal with the weather, how they deal with the struggles of the offensive line, and this Ravens defense is playing really well the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
They added Roquan Smith. He's played really well for him. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough game. Points are not going to be flying off the board, I would assume.
no.
But yeah, I think that one's a pretty easy thing to figure out. But okay, before we get to our picks this week, what are your keys to victory here for the Browns?
Stopping the run and limiting turnovers.
Yeah,
Stopping the run is obvious, but you can't give a team that is likely going to struggle to score anyway a new lease on life by giving them the ball on a short field.
right.
Um, I mean, this is a team, aside from the Jacksonville, their last 3 games, the Jacksonville game they lost, their last 3 wins, they've scored 13, 10, and 16. They're not exactly scoring.
Right.
To be fair, those are also you're talking about the Panthers, Broncos, and Pittsburgh offense. All offenses that the Browns, even in a weakened state, are better than.
Right.
So, I mean, they just have to be able to play clean football, which I mean, last week they were able to do that aside from one throw.
Yeah.
It's just they couldn't find the end zone last week. That was the issue.
Right.
So on offense they need to limit the turnovers, and on defense they need to find ways to stop the run. I don't know
Right.
how they're going to game plan to do it. They've done it in the past against this team, but they've also done it with a linebacker core that wasn't third string, and that's where we're at right
Yeah.
now on the linebacking core, because everyone's hurt.
Yeah.
They've lost
Right.
4 linebackers for the season.
Yeah. That's the troubling part. Like, I don't know if they have the personnel anymore. They're gonna have to scheme it to I think to stop it. They're gonna I This is the week of all weeks. Just play to stop the run. if you get beat deep, you get beat deep. Like you kind of you give them you shake their hand and say you beat us, but like you can't just let this Ravens team just run all over you.
Yeah.
And they will if they just kind of run their normal defense, like because they have no JOK. Um, God, who are we going to run out there? Taki Taki and Deion Jones and
Taki Taki's out
Tony
too.
Fields. Oh yeah, I forgot about Taki. So it's like Tony Fields and Deion Jones.
Yeah,
two
and
two guys that
Kunacek
are
or whatever
probably
his name is.
two guys that are probably more pass oriented linebackers than run
Yeah.
stopping. So it's not great. And we already talked about the interior defense all year. It's a dumpster fire. So it's gonna take coaching to win this game to be successful on defense because
Yeah, and I don't know how much we trust the
right.
defensive coaching staff right now. So
Uh, None at all. After some of the quotes we've heard this week,
yeah. Not been real heartening.
no, yeah, uh, yeah. So we won't get into that, but yeah, it's there's not a lot of confidence that you can glean from these. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough. That's gonna be a tough thing to do. I agree with you on no turnovers, and then the special teams just can't be a like a deficiency.
Yeah,
You're not going to be better than Baltimore on special teams. They're always top notch. They have the
just
greatest
don't be
kicker.
decidedly worse.
Right, they have the greatest kicker of all time. It is going to be. It is the win might be a little bit more evening out. I think because I think if the wind is kind of a little heavier, it could kind of limit the amount of times they can throw out Tucker out there just to save their offense. We've seen it so many times against Cleveland where he can just come out there on the 50 or plus and just bank, put it on the board pretty certainty without any trouble. But that could be a little bit evening. But yeah, the special team just can't be a dumpster fire. Don't don't cause the turnovers. Um,
Don't level up Hunter.
yeah, don't level punter. Um, I don't know how much they're going to rely on Cade York if the weather is poor because this is
I
going to be
imagine they're
probably
not going to. I imagine they're
yeah
not going to attempt any kicks longer than probably
right. This is
45.
this is going to be his worst weather game of the year in his first career season. So you don't want to throw too much at him. Um, and then just the return game, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Donovan, Jerome Ford, just keep doing what you're doing and just don't be a huge deficiency for this team.
Yep.
And Watson just has to be clean. Don't make show what you did with your arm last week, and then just show improvement with how you're viewing the field. And
Yeah. I'm not sure how much of the improvement we're going to see with his eyes until next season.
right,
But
yeah, I think. Well, in terms of that, then you might just have to go with the Brissett kind of mindset. Just don't take those big shots that if you're not seeing the field that well, don't make the dangerous throws that are going to throw an interception or something like that
yeah,
and flip the field. So
yeah,
yeah, it's they're pretty simple keys this week.
yeah. I mean,
uh,
it feels like every week has been fairly simple keys. It's just a
yeah,
matter of doing it.
yeah, right, yeah. Limiting the penalties would be nice too, but I'll dream. Hopefully Jerome. I don't know who the referees are this week, but hopefully it's not Jerome Boger this week. Oh, that was rough. Um,
Yes, it
okay.
was.
Yes. Okay. Let's get to the picks. Last week, Taylor, you went 6-3. I went 4-5. So on the season, you took the lead. You are now at 45-38. I'm at 43-40. So we got what 4 games left of the season. So let's go through the picks last week. We were both wrong. We both picked the Browns to cover.
At least cover, yeah.
Yeah, at least cover, but they did not. They lost by 13. 40, 47.5 points. We both thought it was going to be a shootout. It looked like beginning of the fourth quarter. I think it was the same score. Right? Did they score in the fourth quarter? Yeah, it was 23-10, I think. So I was like, oh, okay, it's looking good. You would think the Browns would score there, and then it just stopped. So the total points was only 33, so we were both wrong quite a bit on that one. We were correct on Joe Burrow being under 2.5 touchdowns. He had just 2. Bengals rushing, we were both wrong there. They had over 110 yards. They were very good at 136. Deshaun Watson, he played well in terms of total yards.
Yep.
He had 309, so over 266.5. So we were both right on that one. Taylor, you were right on Chubb's rushing yards. He only had 34.
Unfortunately, I was right.
Right, yeah. He only had 34, and that was clearly below 90. Most receiving yards, Donovan Peoples-Jones had the most, but it was a battle between who had more, Cooper and Njoku. And Njoku just barely beat Cooper 59-42, so Taylor was right again. Over under Myles Garrett 1.5 sacks. He had 2, so we were both right, and then we were both.
One was a gift.
Right,
one of them was a gift.
One was a gift, yes. And then we both picked the Bengals to win, but by closer spots. But still, we got that right. Okay. This week, the Browns are favored minus 2.5. What you got?
I think they cover that. I don't think it's going to be by a ton, but I think they can cover that.
Okay, so you take Browns. Okay.
Yeah.
I think going back and forth on this game, it's like there's a lot of things that I think Cleveland's going to be good at, and then I just what we were talking about with the run defense, I just don't know what they can do there. But I'm gonna hope that they're banking on the positive play the past couple of games, and they cover again, and they do enough for the offense. So I think I'll take the Browns on that one too. Okay, over under 37.5.
Under.
Yeah, I'm going under too. I don't think this is even going to be close. It's.
I think you could put it at 34, and I might still take the under.
Right. It's like everything is like both offenses are struggling, and then just put it, and then the weather is just going to be it's a perfect storm, as you could say.
Yeah.
Over under Deshaun Watson total yards 266.5.
I'm going to say over. I still think he's going to be able to throw the ball a little bit. I think more so than the Ravens, the Browns are going to be more apt to throw the ball because they at least trust Deshaun to make throws.
Right.
So I think he's going to get enough passing yards to where his 60 to 80 rushing yards are probably going to offset that total. So I'll take the over.
I would agree. I know we're agreeing on all these first ones, but it's based on they don't have a run game. They're gonna have to pass. He's the most successful runner right now because he can scramble. So I think this is a clear over. I think he actually gets it easily. Okay, interesting next two here. So I have the over-unders for run games here. So over-under 110 yards for the Browns run game. they've been like back and forth.
Until they can show it to me, I'm going to say under.
Under.
I mean, 110 for a total when the game's going to be as poor weather-wise as this one. I mean, you should hit it, but they haven't shown that in the last little while, so I'm going to have to go under.
Okay. I'm going to differ with you. I'm going to go over. Barely. I think it's going to be
111.
Right. 110.1. Yeah, it's gonna be just over. I don't think it's gonna be successful. I think they're gonna run a little bit more than they've been. So I don't think the average is gonna be great, but I think they're still gonna get over 110. Ravens is 140 total yards.
Well, they're not going to be, if they don't get 140 rushing yards, they aren't going to score any points. So over.
Over.
I mean, they don't really have a choice. They have to be able to run the ball. Even if it's mashing their head against a brick wall, they're probably going to get to 140-ish yards.
Right. I agree with that. It's what they're going to have to do, and
if they have fewer than 140 rushing yards, then they either connected on a deep ball or they have 197 yards of total offense at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
It's one of those two.
Definitely. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to trust the passing game enough to move the ball that way.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's just like the Browns, I think their average might not be great because they're just doing it so much often, but I'd get over 140. Quantity over quality, probably.
And they can still have, I mean, I could still foresee them running for 270 yards, but like passing for 40. Like, I don't know how else they're going to move the ball considering the weather and how the Browns defense operates.
Right. I got a fun one next one here. So total combined pass yards in the game for both teams combined is 320.
Under. I'd be shocked if the Browns threw for more than 220. And I don't think the Ravens are going to throw. They're probably going to be in the 100, 115 range if they're throwing the ball at all. I mean, last week they had like 95. So
right.
I just don't foresee it being a big passing game where it's going to come down. Like if that over hits, then it's going to be mostly on the Browns or on a coverage bust for the Ravens.
Yeah. I'm going to go over. Just to be different. I also think the Browns will pass more because I don't think they just can't run the ball efficiently. So I think we'll see a solid game for Deshaun, and I think he'll get 220 to 2 kind of, I don't know, 240 range, and then that only makes up. You only need 80 from the other team, so I'll take the over. But and once again, it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. Okay, who wins the turnover battle? If it's a tie, then it goes to nobody. So,
I think the Browns do.
Browns.
Yeah. I think maybe they're able to force one.
I'm going to go Ravens. Yeah, they have a better defense. They have a better turnover producing defense, and Watson has turned it over twice so far. So I think the Ravens. It might be just 1-0, but
yeah,
and you never know with our special teams also. So
yeah,
I'll put that in there too. Okay, and then this one might be super close and very low, but who leads the Browns in receiving yards? Cooper, DPJ, Njoku, or the field?
All signs kind of point to Peoples Jones on this one. I think he's benefited the most so far from Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper doesn't seem super healthy right now.
Yeah.
And the field consists of a whole lot of nothing. So I think DPJ feels like the best one there.
I'm going to go on Njoku. I agree. Yeah, DPJ just definitely looks like the guy he's most comfortable with. But yesterday or last game was Njoku's first game with him, so I think they get more comfortable, assuming he's playing, which I don't know. It's back and forth each week. It seems like with Njoku, but if he's playing, I think he leads it. He's going to lead because he's going to get that underneath passing game going. So I'll go with Njoku, but it's going to be close. I think. I definitely think it's going to be either DPJ or Njoku. I don't see Cooper. It just doesn't seem like he's 100%. And when he's not running in and out of his routes kind of well, it greatly hurts his game. Yeah. Okay, last one. Score prediction. Who wins?
I think that this Browns team is, with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, is better than the Ravens, regardless of the defensive deficiencies. It's just a matter of whether the offense can kind of find its footing and have a balanced attack, which they haven't had in a while. I don't think they're going to score a bunch of points. I don't think that's possible. But I think the Browns are going to be able to at least do enough to outscore the little bit that the Ravens are able to produce. So I think Browns 16 to let's say 16-10.
16 to 10%.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good one. I think the Browns win as I pick the over under. It's going to be tough to score field goals here, so that's why I'm going to, especially for the Browns on that side. I think the Ravens do get field goals. I'm going to go. I'm gonna go 20 to 13. Browns. So yeah, that'll be under. Yeah, I have to make sure it's under.
Gotta check.
Gotta check there. Yeah, I think the Browns actually miss a PAT, and then I think Tucker is just a cheat code, as we all know. I think he'll get 2 field goals, score there. But yeah, I think Browns 2013. It's going to be an ugly game. That's all I can say. It's going to be a really freaking ugly game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what else to say, but any final thoughts?
Hopefully, it's an ugly game that we enjoy.
Right. Yes.
At least enjoy the outcome.
Right. Yeah, we've seen a lot of ugly games on the other side, but yeah, if they can get the pull the W, that'll be nice. Kind of get back in the swing of things and finish off the season well. They have after this, it's not too much of a schedule crunch here. Besides Washington,
No.
I don't know how much Washington is or not, but yeah.
I mean, they're winning games somehow, but they're not an unbeatable team. they're actually averaging fewer yards offensively than the Browns give up, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely. It's, before we go, I'll just show some of our viewers here. Was shown, but Joe Generate. Yeah, I definitely agree with it. Let's before we kind of call off our show here today.
yeah.
Definitely, People Jones, as you talked about, has played extremely well, and he really does seem like a guy they need to lock up sooner rather than
Yeah, and
later.
now is a good time to do it because next year there's the potential that he has an even more of a breakout season. Like right now, he's people who watch the team know he is having a good year, but the league itself doesn't. Like the
True,
general discourse of the league doesn't know that he's having as good of a year as he is.
right?
But if he comes out next year and racks up 1,300 yards and 7
Scores
touchdowns,
touchdowns, yeah, like
yeah, then you wind up paying a much bigger contract. So I think you're at and honestly, is his contract up at the end of the season? It could be because he's a 6th-round pick.
it was 4 years. So what isn't he in
No,
year
then
3?
he'll have one more year.
Yeah, he's in year 3. So yeah, definitely want a good call on that, Joe. Yeah, it was. He's definitely a future piece for this team.
Yeah,
It's really looking like this receiving core is kind of. Man, we went into this season. Man, that preseason was awful. You remember just going back to that preseason where it was
yeah,
just we were like, who's going to catch this ball? Obviously, Cooper was not playing, which
yeah,
which was huge. And then Donovan, I thought played well, but he just didn't play that often. And it just showed like once you got Cooper on the field, his talent is undeniable, and Donovan has just really stepped up and become like a kind of a sure hit. I kind of laugh that he's sort of what they wanted Jarvis to be, like the sure-handed guy.
yeah.
Like he's become the sure-handed guy. Like Jarvis would have some huge drops. I love Jarvis, but he had some huge drops over his career with the Browns.
Yeah, he
Like
did.
Donovan
I
is
mean, Amari
such
Cooper's
a
had a few, but
true, yeah, yeah. But Donovan is just so secure with his catches, and it's a huge thing to have next to Cooper, who, yeah, as we can, he can make the tough catches, but he has kind of it's similar to Jarvis almost. He's got good hands, but he makes those occasional kind of what the heck? How did he drop that pass? But yeah, I think they just need kind of a deep guy to add in this offseason.
yeah,
They don't really have a deep threat. They do in theory they do in Schwartz, but that's only in theory.
mm.
So yeah, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope. Just hopefully they're able to pull this one out. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
an unwinnable game. I mean, we're not even. We didn't bring up any of the potential. This win could keep them in the playoff hunt. We didn't
Yeah.
bring that up today,
No.
which is fine because whatever. Uh,
Yeah. That was
but
only gonna be staying on us talking about it if they won last week. And we're not talking playoffs unless it's like last week and there's like a percentage we can get in.
yeah,
Yeah. 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 Okay. Should be interesting. That's all I'll say. Interesting on Sunday. I won't be
yeah,
going. I will not be at the game. So we'll be after post game show closer to the game. So tune in around 8 o'clock when the games start. And is it 4:30 or is it 4?
yeah. It's a 4:30 start.
Yeah, so it'll be around 8ish. Yeah, it's gonna be Saturday, so it's gonna be weird. It's on a Saturday.
Next 2 games are on Saturday.
Yeah. It's last 2 home games too.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's Christmas Eve too. But yeah, it's
Christmas Eve at the stadium.
Can't wait, and it might be a blizzard. Oh man, yeah. I don't know if you've seen the news or if you've seen the weather.
I follow the weather pretty consistently, and there might even be snow down here on Christmas. So like,
Yeah, it's gonna be like
it's gonna be a wild weekend.
It's gonna be a historic kind of snow situation. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's stretching. Yeah, I think Florida is going to be like the cold weather is just kind of like it hits like Florida too. I think.
Yeah,
like
but
yeah, it's gonna be interesting
well,
the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is another edition of the WFNY BrownsCast, and we'll be back after the game on Saturday. So we'll see you then. Go Browns.